Okay, so last time you heard from me, I did a video about how I was quitting reselling, and I thought I would do a quick update as to how things have been going since then. I haven't done a lot of videos since then. It was a couple of months ago, and a lot has changed, so let's talk about it. So quick backstory, most of my inventory has been at a fulfillment center for the last 2 years or so. When we were living in Oregon, we had a small house, and I also just didn't want to dedicate a lot of time and space to storing and shipping items, so I did use Reseller Solutions. They are a great company if you want to store your items elsewhere and have someone else ship your items for you. But because we were on the road, it became even more necessary for me to do that and keep my items there. But then when we started traveling again, I just did not have the time to dedicate to sourcing. So from January until now, I have not been sourcing at all. So I decided back in, I don't remember when it was. So I decided a couple of months ago to just kind of liquidate as much as I could and get all that stuff back. So since that video where I said I was quitting reselling, I clearanced as much as I could and I got everything else sent back. eBliss sent me a total of 85 items, and then I went through each item one by one and reevaluated it as if I was going to purchase it again to make sure it was something that I actually wanted to try and sell and spend my time on. I actually wrote an email about this to my email list. If you are not on it, you can go to hustleandslow.com/email to sign up. And I shared kind of the process of this, but basically I went from 85 items, went through every single item, and I got down to 21 items. So I decided to donate about 75% of my inventory and just keep those 21 items listed. Keep in mind, these 21 items are items that had been sitting for over a year at this point, because I hadn't been sourcing in so long, and I looked at the dates of these and they had been sitting for a year, but these were items that I knew still had a decent sell-through rate and still had a decent profit. So these were items I wanted to try and sell. Everything else just was not worth it, was not worth relisting over and over and just storing. So we went ahead and donated 75% of my inventory. So I went through and I relisted those items. I went into Vendoo and just delisted and relisted them. But I did check pricing and I did make sure that I adjusted the pricing so it was more competitive. On most of them, I had to lower the price quite a bit to meet the market, and within 2 days, 2 items sold. So these are items that have been sitting for over a year and suddenly 2 of them sold. So that told me that I was doing the right thing. I was adjusting things to meet the market price, and now things are selling. Since then, it's been a couple of weeks. I still only had 21 items listed. I have not listed anything new, and a total of 5 items sold. That doesn't sound like a lot in a couple of weeks, but when you only have 21 items up, that's about 23% of my inventory. Inventory that had previously literally just been sitting there with 0 interest. So I know that making these adjustments and reevaluating and kind of auditing my inventory has really helped me actually move some of the items that I have listed. Moving forward, I still have those items that I'm going to hold on to and see if I can get those sold. And then I did go to yard sales a couple weekends ago and I did pick up 1 pair of shoes, but I do have a box of shoes that I actually had in the trailer with us when we were traveling that I meant to list and I never got to it. So I'm gonna list all of those shoes and add those to my inventory and resell at a very small scale right now. My focus is still going to be on helping other resellers because I'm just not at a point where I can resell in any larger capacity. Maybe 50 items or less is where I'm at, but I can still kind of fulfill that reselling itch by listing a couple things here and there and making a little bit of money. But I just wanted to share my process with you and give you some tips to maybe audit your own inventory, because I have done a lot of eBay and Poshmark store reviews. You can check out the link below if you want to get one yourself. And I'm seeing that a lot of people are having the same issue. They are priced too high and they have items that are not, or that don't have a high sell-through rate. So if you want to go ahead and audit your own inventory, here are my quick tips for you. First, figure out what your new criteria is for things that you want to sell. If you are like a lot of people, you might have items that just are not going to sell. When you look it up, it has less than a 10% sell-through rate. That means it's going to sit for years before it probably sells. And even at that point, you're going to have it priced really, really, really low to get it to sell at all. For me, I'm trying for a $20 profit and a 50% sell-through rate. Those are my criteria for any items that I'm going to pick up in the future and list and spend any of my time on. If it doesn't meet both of those criteria, for me, it's not worth it. Now you're gonna wanna start with your unlisted inventory. If you already have the stuff listed and you have unlisted inventory sitting around, just start with the unlisted inventory and start auditing there. Go through everything like I did, one by one, look it up again, make sure it's still worth your time, let go and accept the bad inventory, get it donated, donated, sell it locally, whatever you need to do. But if it's not a good enough profit or a good enough sell-through rate, then it may not be worth your time to take photos, list that item, manage that item, store that item, and everything. So just be really picky. Then you can take the good items and add them to your list of items to start listing immediately. You really want to focus on items with a good sell-through rate and make sure that your pricing is competitive. I believe that these are literally the two most important things to having a successful reselling business, and it's the two things that people struggle with. Most people price too high and buy items with too low of a sell-through rate. Once you're done with your unlisted inventory, move over to your active inventory and do the same thing. Start with things that have been sitting for a long time and reevaluate if those things are worth holding on to and just waiting it out, or if you want to start clearancing those items out. Try it maybe 50% off and then 75% off. If things aren't selling even for a couple of dollars, it might be time to just take it and donate it, because if it's not going to sell for a couple of dollars, then it's not worth keeping up in your store. Once you're done, you will have a store full of items that have a good profit margin, correct pricing, and a good sell-through rate, and you will be way ahead of the game compared to most people. Even as a veteran reseller who's been in this for a long time, this is still something that I struggle with focusing on, because sometimes I just want to buy the cheap thing that I think will sell well, even if the numbers aren't there. And that's just such a mistake. And you really need to look at the numbers and look at it from a business point of view versus what you personally think. So hopefully this video has given you some tips to go ahead and audit your own inventory. You can learn from my mistakes and have a store full of items that are actually going to sell for a good profit. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.